Oh, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary from Dylan Fan TV, man. Back at another video. Like the content of this video, go smash that like button. At the content of this channel, go ahead, subscribe, man. Look, so I want to talk about Derrick Henry, his fit in Baltimore, and the fact that he's one of the guys that's been one of the more linked people to the Ravens this offseason, right? And for me personally, how I don't see the fit. I don't really understand the hype of bringing Derrick Henry here to Baltimore, right? So now, first of all, disclaimer. Derrick Henry is a great player. He's one of the all-time running backs, especially of this last generation. His past, 5 to 7 years. He's been really, truly one of the great running backs in the NFL. All right, so there's no way me talking about him as a player, throughout his entire career. We just talking about right now, going into the 2024-25 season. Do I think he fits what the Ravens need at running back, and should the Ravens spend that money to go get a Derrick Henry? All right, so I just want to put that out there. All right, now. First off, right, there's going to be many running backs available this offseason, right? This is kind of the offseason where if you want a running back, there are guys with names out there available, right? Derrick Henry, who we're talking about. I got my phone right here, that's why I'm looking down. So, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara's out there too, but it's kind of more like a trade for Alvin Kamara, so I don't really see him as a likely option. But yeah, Alvin Kamara too, if you wanted to, trade for him and maybe, spend the cap on that, right? He is also an option. All right, so there are many running backs available. Okay, so that's kind of one thing right there. I don't think you have to be so zeroed in on Derrick Henry as the guy for the Ravens. Now, listen, some of these guys like Jacobs and Saquon are going to cost a lot of money, right? Saquon is going to cost $10+ million a year, and Josh Jacobs might just end up back on the Raiders, right? So I'm not telling you that Derrick Henry is the worst option ever, things like that. No, but when we talk about style fit, I think his style kind of clashes with the direction that the Ravens are currently going, right? So let's talk about Derrick Henry, right? So 30 years old, right? And to me, right now, at this point in his career, right, if we're talking about styles of play, we're not talking about what they've done, throughout their entire careers, right? I don't see him as being that much different to what the Ravens already had in Gus Edwards, right? All right, so Derrick Henry last year, yards per carry, right? 4.2, Gus 4.1. Pretty much identical. Now, I will say this, right? Context always matters. Derrick Henry's offensive line was not good last year. They were the worst pass blocking offensive line, and they were a below average run blocking offensive line, right? So those things matter. He's with a rookie quarterback, stacking the box. I get all of that, right? So I want to put that out there, right? I'm not solely blaming the run game on him. All right, the guys in front of him have to do their job. Excuse me, right? All right, but style clash with the Ravens to me is one of the bigger factors that we're talking about here, right? If we're thinking about when the Ravens played their best ball last year, their most successful ball on offense last year, who was the guy in the game, right? It was Keaton Mitchell. Now, do the Ravens need to chase all 5'9", 180-pound running backs that can move fast? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the style that Keaton Mitchell had, it goes in line with what Todd Monken likes in his running backs, right? Last year we saw it, right? Honestly, when JK went down, we all assumed that Gus would kind of just take over that lead dog role, and it would be, his backfield. Obviously, you will miss the guys in like, Justice Hill and things like that. But as the season went along, it was very apparent, very obvious that it seemed as though Todd Monken favored Justice Hill more being in the game, right? Now, so if we looking at that right there, right? Now, does Derrick Henry, who is his play style more similar to, Gus Edwards or Justice Hill, right? Now, he's better players than both of them, right? So I want to get that out there. I'm not telling you that he's the same level as Gus Edwards. But when the Ravens talk about changing the dynamic of their backfield, upgrading their backfield, Derrick Henry's not the kind of back that comes to mind, right? To me, the Ravens need a running back that can be on the field for 3 downs, that can pass block, but that's also a receiving option out the backfield. To me, that is the biggest thing about Derrick Henry. That's the biggest factor for me about Derrick Henry, right? Is he a receiving option out the backfield? And the answer for most of his career, pretty much all of his career, has been no. All right. That just hasn't been a part of his game, right? It hasn't needed to be, right? He's been a dominant running back. But over the last 4 years, his yards per game have gone down each year, right? Last year, 2 years ago now, I guess I should say, 2022, 96 yards a game. Last year, 68 yards a game, right? All right, that's a significant drop off. Okay, I mentioned this offensive line, so take it how you want to do it, but it's still a product of what he's putting out there. Okay, for me, this is not the style of running back that the Ravens need, right? I've been on here multiple times saying, a guy like Saquon Barkley, right? Now, Saquon Barkley is going to be on the high end, the expensive end, right? And his yards per carry last year wasn't great, but the big deciding factor is that he is dynamic out of the backfield, okay? If you get down to the playoffs, right? Now, the Ravens have, in these last couple playoff games, last couple playoff losses, have passed the ball no matter what, right? Now, if the Ravens are going to go down that road again, I would rather have them have a back with true dynamic ability in that backfield, right? Saquon, fill in the blank, whatever, right? Whoever you want to put there, okay? Once again, to me, Derrick Henry is not that guy, right? Now, if you want to say that, you just want a power back, somebody who can, first, second down, okay, go draft the guy, right? You don't need to pay $7 million plus. I think is probably the baseline for Derrick Henry, probably $7 million a year, right? You don't need to pay $7 million plus for that running back who's only going to be good for you on first and second down primarily, unless you get into 3rd and 3 or shorter. If it's 3rd and 4 or longer, I'm going to assume that 80% of the time Derrick Henry won't be in the game on that scenario for the Ravens, okay? He just probably won't be in the game, all right? So you don't need to pay a guy that kind of money for only to be in there for the first 2 downs or for second down. You don't need to do that, right? So, once again, I'm going to keep coming at the same point. Derrick Henry is a great player. At this point in his career, if this was 4 years ago, 26-year-old Derrick Henry running through everybody, I'll be more open to it. I'll be inclined to say, hell yeah. See him and Lamar Jackson in the same backfield, that'd be great. You bring in Derrick Henry right now at this point in his career, it feels like it's going to end up in the same situation where Lamar Jackson is going to end up being the leading rusher on his team. And for once in his career, I would love for Lamar Jackson not to have the burden of the rushing game on his shoulder, along with the burden of the passing game. Let the quarterback only have to have one thing on his shoulder as far as that, right? Lamar Jackson will always be a contributor in the running game because he's too athletic not to be. He's too great of a scrambler, this and that, right? But, again, he was the Ravens' leading rusher. I believe that every year Lamar Jackson has been a starter, he's been the Ravens' leading rusher, right? I don't even have to look that up. I'm pretty sure that's true, okay? All right, so can we finally see a difference in the backfield? And for me, that's just not what Derrick Henry is going to bring. All right. Now, if he's here and the Ravens sign him, I'm gonna support him 100%. Once you're a Raven, you in there, I'm gonna support. So I'm not gonna be watching the games hating Derrick Henry, nothing like that. But if I was the Ravens, I'm looking at other options. Okay. You mentioned Saquon. I'm looking at other guys. I'm looking at DeAndre Swift. Right. Can he come in, right? Because DeAndre Swift gives you the best of both worlds, right? He can run in between tackles, outside, has a nice little burst. Also, is a receiving threat out of the backfield as a dynamic element, right? Somebody like that, right? He won't cost as much as Saquon Barkley, but you have to pay a little bit, but he can play all 3 downs, right? How likely is that? I don't know. Maybe he just goes back to Philly. I don't know, but that's the kind of guy I'm talking about. Shoot, Dalvin Cook was here, right? If the Ravens are going to go after 30-year-old running backs, why not the guy that was already in the building, Dalvin Cook? All right. So for me, when I see the landscape of this Ravens offense, when I see how Tom Munkin wants his Ravens offense to play, how he wants his running backs to play, Derrick Henry is not his style of running back. It's just not. All right. This scheme, the Ravens are always going to be leading running the football, right? And I don't think the Ravens need a power back to score more touchdowns. The Ravens scored touchdowns just fine in the red zone, giving the ball to Gus Edwards at the 1-yard line. They can do that with X third-round running back that you want to put in the backfield. He can do that too, all right? You know what I mean? So, for me, when I look at Derrick Henry, when I look at where the Ravens offense is going, when I look at the direction that they're hitting in, maybe if it was Greg Roman's offense, right? But this style of Ravens offense, to me, Derrick Henry just does not fit, and I don't understand the hype of bringing Derrick Henry here to Baltimore. To me, it doesn't significantly upgrade the offense at all. All right, it kind of puts the Ravens back in the same spot that they're currently in. They'll have a guy for first and second down. Then on third down, they won't have a guy. Then you get into the playoffs where the Ravens have been known to pass the ball more. Derrick Henry's not going to help you there. Right now, you could say, well, if you had Derrick Henry, you can't ignore running the football. Maybe, but if we're going off past history, the Ravens have thrown the ball in the playoffs, right? You need a guy that can help you in that pass game. To me, that's just not Derrick Henry's game. All right. So that's my thoughts on it, man. I know some people are going to disagree with me. Probably a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but it is what it is. but I'm always open to the conversation, right? But thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. It's Gabriel to the Fan TV. I'm out.